Deep in the Sahara Desert, the Tassili Najir Plateau of Algeria harbors cave paintings that have mystified historians. These artworks, created over 12,000 years ago, showcase not only the expected depictions of animals and everyday life, but also mysterious humanoid figures with large round heads and peculiar antenna-like protrusions. For some enthusiasts of ancient astronaut theories, these strange beings hint at extraterrestrial visitors or even predictions of future human space exploration. They wonder, did our ancestors witness something beyond their understanding, or were they envisioning a destiny among the stars? On the other hand, archaeologists and anthropologists provide a more grounded interpretation. They believe these figures represent humans adorned with ceremonial masks or elaborate headdresses, reflecting the spiritual rituals and cultural richness of the ancient inhabitants. In our number 9 spot, today we have the Val Camonica petroglyphs in Italy. Nestled in the Italian Alps, Val Camonica is home to one of the world's largest collections of prehistoric petroglyphs, boasting over 140,000 symbols and figures etched into the rock over thousands of years. Among these ancient carvings are intriguing humanoid figures that appear to have halos or rays shooting from their heads. This curious detail has fueled speculations that these artists were depicting astronauts or divine beings, perhaps even hinting at advanced knowledge or technologies far beyond their time. Some wonder if these carvings are eerie predictions of future developments or encounters with otherworldly entities. However, most scholars interpret these radiant figures as representations of spiritual power or significance, possibly depicting deities, shamans, or warriors adorned in ceremonial gear meant to signify their importance within the community. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Temple of Hathor. Deep within the ancient Temple of Hathor at Dendera, Egypt, there's a set of carvings that have ignited both wonder and wild theories. These intriguing carvings show what appear to be giant light bulbs, complete with filament-like snakes inside, being supported by priests or deities. Some modern observers have jumped to the electrifying conclusion that the Egyptians not only predicted future technology, but might have actually harnessed electricity long before Thomas Edison lit up the world. Could these carvings be evidence of ancient light bulbs illuminating the pharaoh's temples? While the idea is a spark for the imagination, mainstream Egyptologists offer a different perspective. They explain that these images are deeply rooted in Egyptian mythology, depicting the lotus flower giving birth to a serpent, symbolizing the god Harsomptis and the daily cycle of creation and rebirth. The so-called bulbs are not electrical devices, but spiritual symbols brimming with religious meaning. So while it is fun to think of ancient Egyptians tinkering with tech gadgets, the reality illuminates something perhaps even more fascinating: the rich and complex belief system that inspired some of the most enduring art in human history. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Wandjina rock art in Australia. Deep in the Kimberley region of Western Australia, the ancient Wandjina rock art mesmerizes with its haunting figures. Beings with large heads, enormous eyes, and no mouths, all enveloped by halos or cloud-like shapes. These striking images, painted by Indigenous Australians thousands of years ago, have sparked all sorts of theories. Some people look at these otherworldly figures and speculate that they're depictions of ancient astronauts or predictions of future encounters with aliens. But when we delve into the rich cultural tapestry of the indigenous communities, a different story begins to unfold. The Wandjina are revered ancestral spirits linked to weather phenomena like rain and storms, embodying the very essence of creation and life. The halos and cloud-like forms symbolize their control over the elements, and the absence of mouth signifies that their power is so immense they don't need to speak to exert it. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Sago Canyon petroglyphs. In the heart of Utah's rugged landscape, Sago Canyon holds a treasure trove of ancient rock art that has puzzled and intrigued visitors for generations. Spanning over 8,000 years and created by various indigenous cultures, the canyon's sandstone walls are adorned with large humanoid figures sporting elongated bodies, oversized eyes, and curiously enough, antenna-like appendages protruding from their heads. These mysterious images have sparked the imaginations of theorists who speculate that they're depictions of extraterrestrial beings or even time travelers, suggesting that the artists might have been forecasting future encounters with aliens or some kind of advanced technology. On the flip side, archaeologists and experts provide a more down-to-earth explanation. They believe these figures are spiritual representations, capturing visions experienced during trance states or serving as stylized artistic expressions. The exaggerated features likely symbolize a connection to the spiritual realm rather than messages from the stars. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Chauvet Cave paintings. Tucked away in the south of France, the Chauvet Cave holds a stunning gallery of artwork that dates back around 36,000 years, making it one of the oldest known sites of human creativity. The walls are adorned with incredibly detailed and realistic paintings of animals, like lions, rhinoceroses, and horses. What's truly fascinating is the sophistication of these images. The artists used shading, perspective, and motion techniques that seem astonishingly advanced for their time. This has led some to speculate that these Paleolithic painters had knowledge of future artistic developments or even flirted with the concept of motion pictures on a very primitive level, of course. The way they captured movement by depicting animals with multiple sets of legs creates a sequential narrative almost like frames in animation. However, most scholars attribute this to the exceptional skill and keen observation of these early humans who were intimately connected with the wildlife around them. The paintings likely served ritualistic purposes or communicated vital information about animal behavior and the environment. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Temple of Seti I. Hidden in the depths of Egypt's Temple of Seti I at Abydos are hieroglyphs that have sparked both excitement and debate. Among the ancient symbols, some carvings bizarrely resemble modern-day vehicles. Think helicopters perched above doorways, submarines gliding along walls, and airplanes etched into stone. These uncanny images have led to jaw-dropping claims that the ancient Egyptians possessed knowledge of future technology or perhaps even had encounters with time travelers. Did they really have a sneak peek into inventions that wouldn't appear until thousands of years later? While the idea sets the imagination racing, historians and archaeologists offer a bit more of a grounded explanation. These so-called vehicles are actually an accidental result, moments where scribes chiseled new hieroglyphs over older ones. Over time, the plaster covering the original carvings eroded, causing the layers to merge and form shapes that coincidentally resemble our modern machines. So while the ancient Egyptians were masters of engineering and astronomy, it's unlikely that they were sketching blueprints for helicopters and submarines. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Charama rock paintings. Hidden within the caves of Chhattisgarh in India, the Charama rock paintings date back around 10,000 years. These ancient artworks depict humanoid figures with helmets and antenna-like appendages alongside disc-shaped objects hovering in the sky. Images that uncannily resemble modern-day depictions of UFOs and extraterrestrials. Such striking visuals have led some to speculate that these cave paintings are evidence of prehistoric encounters with alien visitors or even predictions of future technological advancements. Most anthropologists and archaeologists interpret these figures as representations of mythological beings or deities from local folklore, with the helmets and antenna possibly symbolizing ceremonial headgear or spiritual attributes. The floating discs might be symbolic portrayals of celestial bodies or spiritual phenomena significant to the culture of the time. In our number number 2 spot today, we have the Nazca Lines in Peru. Stretching across the barren desert of southern Peru, the Nazca Lines are one of the most mysterious wonders in the world. Etched into the earth between 500 BCE and 500 CE, these massive geoglyphs depict a menagerie of animals, soaring birds, intricate monkeys, and sprawling spiders, alongside complex geometric shapes. What's completely mind-boggling is that these designs are only fully visible from the air, leading some to speculate that the ancient Nazca people either had knowledge of flight or created them as signals to beings from the sky. Could they have predicted future aviation technology, or were they trying to communicate with extraterrestrials? While such theories add a thrilling layer of mystery, most researchers lean towards more terrestrial explanations. They believe the Nazca Lines had ritualistic or astronomical purposes, possibly serving as giant calendars or being part of water-related ceremonies in this arid region. Crafted by removing the dark topsoil to reveal lighter ground beneath, the creation of these geoglyphs was well within the technological reach of the Nazca culture. And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the Lascaux shaft scene. Deep within the winding passages of France's Lascaux cave, there is a mysterious painting known as the shaft scene that continues to baffle and intrigue. It depicts a human figure with a bird-like head lying seemingly lifeless near a wounded bison, its entrails dramatically spilling out. Nearby, a simple bird perched on a stick adds another layer of oddity. Some modern theorists have jumped on this haunting imagery, suggesting that it foretells future events or embodies concepts that were supposedly unknown at the time, perhaps even hinting at out-of-body experiences or other dimensions. Could this be an ancient prophecy or a primitive understanding of ideas that would only emerge thousands of years later? Most scholars, however, see it differently. They interpret the scene as a shamanistic vision or a mythological narrative reflecting the rich spiritual life and storytelling traditions of Paleolithic humans. The bird-headed man might represent a shaman in a trance or a symbolic journey between worlds.
In the Bastar region of India's Chhattisgarh state, near the town of Charama, archaeologists rediscovered a bunch of rock paintings in 2014 that were pretty incredible. First off, the paintings date back about 10,000 years. Imagine looking up close at something some ancient person from 10,000 years ago painted with their bare hands. Aside from the age though, some of this art looks oddly out of place. A lot of it looks more science fiction than your typical spear-wielding hunters and animals you get with most cave paintings. There are humanoid figures with what look like antennae on their heads. Some appear to be flying in disc-shaped crafts with 3 legs, and a lot of these figures just look kinda, for lack of a better word, alien. Now, is that just a coincidence? Were they depicting gods that they just happened to envision the same way aliens are in modern day, or were they actually seeing something? Archaeologist J.R. Bagat, who studies these closely, said these might be depictions of ancient encounters with extraterrestrials, or at least ancient humans' imagination of alien beings. See, local tribes have legends about the Roela, or the small-sized ones, said to have come from the sky in flying machines, abducting villagers before disappearing. Sound familiar? The Lascaux caves in southwestern France are some of the most famous prehistoric sites in the world, filled with detailed paintings of animals like bulls, deer, and horses, but beyond the impressive animal art, there's something strange here as well. Abstract signs and dots. Now, could they just be decoration? Sure, but some researchers think these marks might be more than that. Early star charts or lunar calendars. Basically, these prehistoric people could have been tracking the moon's phases or the positions of stars to keep time. That would be pretty nuts, because it means they would have had some understanding of astronomy long before we thought people ever did. It could be much more than just making art for art's sake. They may have been recording knowledge, passing it down for generations. Sticking with France, Chauvet Cave is also packed with some of the oldest and most detailed cave paintings in the world, dating back about 33,000 years. Among the artwork, researchers again spotted a series of dots that some believe aren't just there for the sake of it, but actually show the phases of the moon. The lunar cycle lasts about 29 days. And these dots might have been an early way to track it, basically an ancient calendar. To pull this off, whoever made these marks had to observe the moon over many nights and understand its changes. That means early humans weren't just focused on daily survival, but instead were paying close attention to the sky and time. Tracking the moon would have been super useful too, helping with hunting seasons, gathering, timing rituals. And besides the dots, the paintings themselves are just impressive. There's a lot more detail in these images than you usually see in ancient cave art. There's shading being used here. The animals have more depth and shape to them. They look almost lifelike. And that alone makes these cave markings seem more advanced for the time, but these dots, it could be the earliest evidence of our ancestors mixing art and science in a way we might not expect from people living such a long time ago. Guanyingdong Cave in China has some of the earliest evidence of the lava-lust stone tool technique, dating back anywhere from 170,000 to 80,000 years. But what is the lava loss technique? Well, this was a game changer in prehistoric technology, because instead of just smashing rocks together and hoping for the best, you'd start with a chunk of stone, usually flint or something similar, and shape it into a very specific form. This chunk is what archaeologists call a core. The idea was to carefully trim and prepare the surface of this core so that when they finally struck it in just the right spot, a flake would pop off that was already shaped into a useful tool. So they weren't shaping the flake after breaking it, they were shaping the core beforehand so that the flake came off ready to use. And since the shaping was intentional, it was repeatable. They could knock off several usable flakes from one core, all similar in shape and size. That's a huge step up from just hitting two rocks together and hoping something sharp breaks off. Hohlefels Cave in southwestern Germany is a gold mine for ancient stuff. Archaeologists found the Venus of Hohlefels here, which is a tiny figurine carved from mammoth ivory. And yes, that means it was actually carved from a mammoth's tusk. This 2.5-inch figurine is supposed to be a woman. What immediately pops out are the cartoonishly large breasts and hips. In fact, they're so big you can barely see this woman's head. Now, I don't think this was meant to be a dig, although that's possible, but most archaeologists believe this was meant to symbolize fertility. Maybe this was some sort of goddess figure. People back then cared a lot about fertility because survival depended on it. I mean, I guess it still does, but it really did back then. So this figurine was probably super important. Along with that, they found musical instruments made from bird bones and, again, mammoth ivory, flutes with finger holes that could play actual notes, not just one sound. Carving those flutes would have taken very sharp tools and serious skill. I mean, making finger holes without cracking the bone would have been no easy task. The Sun Temple at Mesa Verde National Park in southwestern Colorado was built into a cliff alcove shaped kind of like a big D. The people who built it, the ancestral Pabloans, used real geometry to design it. The shape and structure follow certain patterns, like the 3-4-5 triangle, which is a simple way to make perfect corners. Something called the golden rectangle, a layout that shows up in art, nature, and architecture because it just feels balanced. Obviously, this kind of precision doesn't just happen by accident. They had to know how to measure, how to mark angles, and how to lay everything out so the pieces fit together exactly right. On top of that, parts of the temple line up with the sun during the summer and winter solstices, meaning the builders were also tracking how the sun moved through the sky. That would have helped them keep time, mark the seasons, and plan ceremonies and planting cycles. Blombos Cave is on the southern coast of South Africa, looking out over the Indian Ocean. Inside, archaeologists found pieces of ochre, which is iron-rich clay that turns a rusty red or brown color when it dries. It's soft enough to carve, but durable enough to hold those carvings for tens of thousands of years. People back then would grind it up to make paint or use it as a kind of an early crayon, but what they found in this cave were blocks of ochre with carefully carved patterns. These engravings are around 75,000 years old. Some have cross-hatched lines, some look like grids, others have angles or zigzags. They're more than just random scratches. They were made with tension, using stone or bone tools to create repeated, even patterns, and it's not like they were carving animals or people. You know, the usual stuff you see in cave art. These were abstract shapes, which doesn't sound all that impressive, but think of what this means. They weren't just copying what they saw. They were thinking in symbols. As for what the symbols mean, maybe it was some sort of language, an early form of code, or maybe it was just decorative. Whatever the purpose though, it proves that people that far back were already thinking creatively, instead of just hunting and surviving like animals. Altamira Cave in northern Spain has some of the best preserved prehistoric paintings ever discovered. These were found in the late 1800s, and at that time people thought they were fake, because no one believed humans that old could make art this good. The paintings date back around 36,000 years. They mostly show bison, deer, and horses, done in natural colors like reds, blacks, and browns. What's crazy though is how lifelike some of these are. Instead of just arbitrarily applying paint to the walls, in some cases they actually use the curves of the cave to give the animals more shape. Beyond that, there are again symbols, dots, and handprints. Some researchers think those markings might have been used to track lunar or seasonal cycles, acting like an early calendar. Tassili Najir is a massive plateau in the middle of the Sahara Desert in southeastern Algeria. Here you'll find thousands of ancient rock paintings and carvings spread across more than 70,000 square kilometers. Most of it's animals, hunting scenes, day-to-day life, pretty standard for prehistoric art, but there's a small group of figures that really stand out. These ones don't look like hunters or herders or anything immediately recognizable. Some look like they're wearing helmets or full-body suits. A few appear to have large, round heads with no facial features and limbs that are thin and stretched. Some call them the Great Martian Gods. One of the most famous is known as the Roundhead, a figure with a bulbous head surrounded by smaller human-like figures reaching up toward it. Some even appear to be hovering or floating, not standing on any surface. And there are also shapes that look kind of like discs or capsules. Could they be depictions of deities or shamans in ritual clothing? Definitely possible. But what if these deities were actually something they were seeing? Visitors from the sky. The story of the Drapa stone starts in 1937 when a Chinese expedition led by Professor Chi Pute supposedly discovered burial site high in the Bayan Har Mountains near the border of Tibet and China. Inside they claimed to have found small skeletons with large skulls and thin, frail bodies, about 4 feet tall. Alongside the remains were hundreds of round stone discs, each about a foot in diameter, with a small hole in the center and 2 spiral grooves carved into the surface. Those spirals were said to contain thousands of tiny characters that could only be seen with magnifying glasses. Years later, a man named Sum Nui allegedly translated them at the Beijing Academy for Prehistoric Research. The translation apparently told the story of an alien spacecraft that crash-landed in the mountains 12,000 years before. The beings, called the Drapa, had come from another star system and were stranded. Some of the locals accepted them, others did not. The discs supposedly recorded their journey, their crash, their struggle to survive. Nui's report was said to have been dismissed by the academic community. He was mocked so badly that he left China and ended up dying in Japan, and the story resurfaced in 1966 from a Soviet journalist who wrote about the discs. But no museum ever officially displayed the stones, and they've since disappeared.
Coming in at number 10 is the Megara Cave. The Megara Cave is located in northwestern Bulgaria. Cave paintings there have been estimated to be made between 10,000 and 8,000 years ago. The drawings represent important events of the society that had occupied the Megara Cave, such as religious ceremonies, hunting scenes, and depictions of deities which are unique on the Balkan Peninsula. The fertility dance and the hunting ceremony rank among the most noteworthy paintings. One grouping from the Bronze Age has been interpreted as a solar calendar. According to Alexei Stoev and Penka Valkova-Stovia, hope I said their names right, Bronze Age paintings of staggered black and white squares used to count the days in the calendar month permit to describe fairly accurately the number of days in the solar tropical year. So did this cave painting predict the use of calendars? I think so. The cave paintings allowed storing information about regional solar calendars, customs, religious festivals, and rituals of the society, which is the earliest representation yet to be discovered in Europe. Number 9. astronomy. A new study says that some of the world's oldest cave paintings reveal that ancient people had relatively advanced knowledge of astronomy. According to the new analysis, some of the paintings are not simply depictions of wild animals, as was previously thought. Instead, the animal symbols represent star constellations in the night sky and are used to represent dates and mark events such as comet strikes. Researchers from the universities of Edinburgh and Kent studied details of Paleolithic and Neolithic art featuring animal symbols at sites in Turkey, Spain, France, and Germany. They found all the sites used the same method of date keeping based on sophisticated astronomy, even though the art was separated in time by tens of thousands of years. According to the study published November 2nd, 2018, the cave painting suggests that, perhaps as far back as 40,000 years ago, humans kept track of time using knowledge of how the position of the stars slowly changes over thousands of years. The findings indicate that the astronomical insights of ancient people were far greater than previously believed. Their knowledge may have aided navigation of the open seas, the researchers say, with implications for our understanding of prehistoric human migration. Martin Sweatman, the University of Edinburgh School of Engineering, led the study and said early cave art shows that people had advanced knowledge of the night sky within the last ice age. Intellectually, they were hardly any different to us today. Researchers reinterpreted earlier findings from a study of stone carving at one of these sites in modern-day Turkey, which is interpreted as a memorial to a devastating comet strike around 11,000 BC. This strike was thought to have initiated a mini ice age known as the Younger Drawes period. Number 8. Willinga Rock Art Panel. In Australia, this rock art panel contains more than 200 motifs. Stylistic changes in the layering of the paintings suggest that they were painted in the last 3 broad painting phases. Changes in social, political, economic, and religious life are often marked by changes in visual expression such as found in this cave. Although the rock art is yet to be radiocarbon dated, some of the layers are likely to be at least 3,000 years old and may have much earlier origins. The oldest paintings have recently been called Walina figures, since this particular style of figure has only been encountered in this rock art shelter. These figures have elongated bodies and large round heads circled with headdresses. They have eyes and noses but no mouths. Most are painted with white outline and black infill. Now, what do these faces mean? Are they even drawings of humans, or are they aliens or some sort of otherworldly creature? Seems like we may never know. Number 7. Cave of Swimmers. The Cave of Swimmers is a cave with ancient rock art in the Libyan desert section of the Sahara. The cave and rock art was discovered in October 1933. Now, the drawings include those of a giraffe and a hippopotamus, and they're estimated to have been created as early as 10,000 years ago, with the beginning of the African humid period, when the Sahara was significantly greener and wetter than it is today. On the wall, there also looks like there's some sort of humanoid creature swimming. Physical scientists who have been conducting research in the area drew a provisional link between the proposed swimming humans and 2 lakes that are 124 miles south of the cave. However, Andres Bore, an archaeologist who is doing the research in the area, questions whether the figures are swimming or not. He believes that the drawings are clearly symbolic with an unknown meaning. Now, I'm gonna say what we're all thinking. These are drawings of mermaids, right? Perhaps mermaids were around at that time and then they went into hiding. And hopefully one day they'll reveal themselves to us again. Number 6. Las Gil. Las Gil are cave formations on the rural outskirts of Hargeisa, Somaliland. They contain some of the earliest known cave paintings of domesticated African arcs in the Horn of Africa. Las Gil's rocks art is estimated to date circa 3,500 to 2,500 BCE. During November and December 2002, an archaeological survey was carried out in Somaliland by a French team of researchers. During the course of the survey, the excavation team discovered Las Gil cave paintings that encompass an area of 10 rock caves. In an excellent state of preservation, the rock art depicts wild animals and decorated cattle, cows, and bulls. Now, could this be them trying to honor the animals or showing us that one day cows will rule the world? Unlikely, but I'll put it out there. They also feature herders, which are believed to be the creators of the painting. Number 5. The Great Gallery. The Horseshoe Canyon in Utah contains some of the most significant rock markings in North America. The Great Gallery includes well-preserved life-size figures with intricate designs. This well-preserved site includes both pictographs, painted figures, and petroglyphs, figures etched in rock with a sharp stone. The tampered life-size figures lack arms and legs, but frequently contain intricate designs. Now, was the lack of arms and legs a choice, or did they have some people who were a part of that community that didn't have have legs or arms, I'm not too sure, but other impressive sights include spring wildflowers, sheer sandstone walls, and mature cottonwood groves along the intermittent stream in the canyon bottom. Artifacts recovered from the site in this area date back to as early as 9000 to 7000 BCE. Number 4. Big Rock. The paintings on the Big Rock near Okotoks, Alberta are estimated to be anywhere from hundreds to thousands of years old. The Blackfoot people used the rock as a landmark for finding a crossing over the Sheep River before European settlers arrived. There are countless First Nation legends associated with the rock, some of which were relayed through pictographs painted onto its surface. Now, according to local elders, one such painting depicts a journey. The arrows point in the direction of travel, north, while moons or circles tell the time it took to complete the journey. There are 17 moons in total, meaning it likely took 17 months to complete the trek. The symbols and figures at the top of this pictograph may indicate why the journey was made. This is essentially a map with instructions made out of pictures, which is pretty cool. Number 3. The UFO. Chattisgarh State Department of Archaeology and Culture plans to seek help from NASA and ISRO for research on 10,000-year-old rock paintings depicting aliens and UFOs in Chartama region of Cantor District. According to archaeologist Jay Baggett, these paintings have depicted aliens like those shown in Hollywood and Bollywood films. Located about 130 kilometers from Raipur, Baggett said the findings suggest that humans in prehistoric times may have seen or imagined beings from other planets, which still create curiosity among people and researchers. Extensive research is needed for further findings. Chattisgarh presently doesn't have any such expert who could give clarity on the subject. Now, there are several beliefs among locals in these villages. While few worship the paintings, others narrate stories that they have heard from ancestors about Rohilla people, the small-sized ones, who used to land from the sky in a round-shaped flying object and take away one or two persons of the village who never returned. Now, the paintings are done in natural colors that have hardly faded despite the years. The strangely carved figures are seen holding weapon-like objects and do not have clear features. Specifically, the nose and mouth are missing. In a few pictures, they are even shown wearing spacesuits. We can't refute the possibility of imagination by prehistoric men, but humans usually fancy such things, the archaeologist said. Number 2. Lascaux Caves. Lascaux Caves is a network of caves near the village of Montignac. Over 600 wall paintings cover the interior walls and ceilings of the cave. The paintings represent primarily large animals, typical local contemporary fauna that correspond with the fossil record of the Upper Paleolithic in the area. They are the combined effort of many generations, and with continued debate, the age of the paintings is usually estimated at around 17,000 years. An amateur researcher assembled a team that included experts from the fields of mathematics, archaeology, and psychology who analyzed the data, compared it to seasonal behaviors of modern animals, and agreed that the numbers represented by dots and slashes are not cardinal but rather ordinal representations of months. As to the frequent occurring symbol that represents a Y, it indicates the month in which various female animal birth their young. The team theorized in the Cambridge Archaeological Journal that this mark may constitute the first known example of an action word, i.e. a verb to give birth. Taken together, the cave paintings and non-figurative markings tell an old-age circular tale of migration, birthing, and mating of birds, bison, fish, horses, mammoths, rhinos, and others. Did these paintings create the first fertility app? I don't know, but it's pretty impressive that they were able to keep track of all of that. And coming in at number 1 is hunting paintings. An Indonesian splunker named Hamara was exploring the grounds of a concrete plant on the island of Sulawesi in 2017 when he found a cave full of art. The painting depicts 2 pigs and 4 small body relatives of water buffalo, as well as what appears to be 8 humanoid figures that are 2 to 4 inches tall. Some of the human figures are holding long, spindly objects pointed toward the animals that might be ropes or spears. The humanoid figures bear usual features, including one with a stubby tail and another with a bird-like beak. Now, why would they draw humans like this? Were they thinking of what a cross of a human and an animal would be, like our present-day crossbreeding experiments? Or dare I say, did they come up with the concept of furries? Whether the art depicts a hunt or some other event, it's likely the oldest known story told through pictures, and the researchers say as the mural dates back to at least 44,000 years.